mystical green beanie.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? I am the mystical green beanie, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about JLA Earth 2, which was written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Frank Quitely. So, I'm ashamed to admit this, but this was the first time I had ever read the story. I've always known about it, but I never actually read it, and that's largely because by the time I started reading comics that weren't just Flash, Spider-Man, and Batman, I had already seen the animated movie Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, and from what I've always understood, the animated movie was based on this story. And since the majority of the DC animated films were almost beat-for-beat adaptations of the stories that they were based on, well, before they tried to make a lame MCU ripoff that's based on the New 52 continuity, I always assumed that this movie was a beat-for-beat adaptation of this book, and as a result, I didn't feel like I had to read the book. But here's the thing. The book and the movie are two fundamentally different entities, and I'm willing to say that the book is a million times better than the movie. So, the basic premise of the story is that Lex Luthor from an alternate reality shows up in the main DC Earth, but this Lex Luthor is a good guy, and he needs the help of the Justice League to save his world from the crime syndicate, who's basically an evil version of the Justice League. And that's all I'm willing to say because it's a really short read, and I feel like saying anything else might give too much away. That said, the story is great, but the art is fantastic. Granted, it is Frank Quitely, so no duh. I will say this though. Compared to some of his stuff in Jupiter's Legacy, or All-Star Superman, or even New X-Men, it's okay. I mean, it's not as great as it is in those books, but it's still really good. But with all that said, let's get into the stuff that I found really interesting about the story. First off, let me just say that I don't know anything about what's going on in the world politically during this time period, but this book comes out in the year 2000. That's the same year that George W. Bush is elected into office. And I think it's hilarious how this book's message is about how you can't change the way a different world operates, and you can't force your ideals onto a world that fundamentally has a different way of thinking. All while George W. Bush is infamously known for trying to spread freedom across the world to other countries which he felt needed democracy. Because that turned out so great, right? And to go deeper into that, I love how that's why the Justice League ultimately fails to save the crime syndicate's Earth. Because the cosmic order of the two worlds are opposite to one another. Because whereas the JLA's Earth is inherently good, that's why the good guys always win in the main DC universe, the crime syndicate's world is inherently evil, and that's why the bad guys always win on their Earth. I also love the parallels between the JLA and the crime syndicate, where the Justice League is held together by their ideals of a brighter tomorrow and their overall optimistic outlook on life. The crime syndicate is only held together by their lust for power and misery, so when they eventually end up being transported to the main DC Earth, they quickly start to fall apart because the cosmic glue that holds them together doesn't exist there. Okay, so while I do seem really high on this book, I will say that if there was anything to complain about, it's the length. Because this book is really short, and I really do feel like we could have gotten to explore the world of Earth 2 a little more. Also, the ending feels very abrupt to me, and it took me a couple reads to actually figure out what was happening in the finale. But yeah guys, my negatives aside, those are my thoughts on what I feel is the single greatest Justice League story that I've ever read. Again, I am really ashamed that it took me so long to read this story. I mean, I've always known that the crime syndicate existed because I've read about them in other DC stories, and I knew that this is where they originated in the post-crisis continuity, but this is fantastic. And I think I like this version of them better than the version that we got in Forever Evil and Darkseid War, and I know for a fact that I like this version of the story better than the animated movie. But again, those are my thoughts, but what about you? Have you guys read this story yet? Have you not? If you have, let me know down below in the comment section what you think of it. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie, thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos.
Show me what you